We're not going to spend much time talking about the obvious guys like George Kittle. Yeah, he goes out there, he scores a lot of points, but in reality, does it change his overall situation? No, we know George Kittle is a massively volatile player. We talked about him as a buy low guy 2 weeks ago just because, with George Kittle, he's going to do nothing for a couple weeks, and he's going to go out there and drop a 40-point performance. We've come to know that from Kittle. Going over to ETN, we've talked about him every single week as a buy low guy. Yeah, he has a great one, but nothing's changed, right? Travis Etienne goes out there. He plays every single snap. He has every single touch. You get a big game against a tough defense, but nothing's changed. He's still bell cow running back, still an RB1 in our rankings. And then with Tyreek Hill, those players, of course, nothing really changes. He scores a lot of fantasy points, and you're happy to have him, but fundamentally, he can't really go any higher in rankings than he already is. Now, a player that was at the very top of rankings already, but honestly, I feel like something has changed, is Ja'Marr Chase, right? Because with Chase, he goes out there and he has himself a hell of a game. 15 receptions, 19 targets, 3 receiving touchdowns. And with Ja'Marr Chase, you can make the argument, well, Mason, come on, man. You already had him ranked as a wide receiver 1 going into this week. Well, I did not have Ja'Marr Chase ranked as a top 3 wide receiver coming into this week, because coming into this week, I was very much worried about the Joe Burrow injury. I was worried about the Joe Burrow play. And how we have seen through the first 4 weeks this season, Joe Burrow go out there and have 165 passing yards, 259 passing yards, 222 passing yards, and 82 passing yards. Joe Burrow was averaging, coming into this game, fewer than 200 passing yards per game. So I was sitting here going, okay, yeah, Chase is still someone you start every single week, still an elite level stud for his late season upside, but not like the elite level top 3 wide receiver right this second. Well, ladies and gentlemen, it looks like Joe Burrow maybe is healthy. It looks like Chase is that top 3 asset in fantasy going forward, where Joe Burrow in this contest has 317 passing yards. He has a completion rate almost at 80%. He has 3 touchdowns, has his best game of his NFL season, and it's not even close. And what makes me think that this is a little bit different is last week you had the Bengals favored by about 3.5 points against the Cardinals. Where what that tells me is, okay, if Cincinnati's only favored by 3 against the Cardinals, Vegas sportsbooks are telling us that Joe Burrow's not healthy, that you can't really rely upon this offense to be what it was last year. Well, if you look at what they have this week, you actually have Cincinnati favored by 2.5, 3 points against a much better team in the Seattle Seahawks. So this is more so a line that indicates, okay, maybe Joe Burrow is good going forward. We had the reports going into last week saying that Joe Burrow was feeling healthier, that Joe Burrow should be better. Now we get confirmation with his play. Now we get confirmation with Las Vegas lines. And also, if you look at the win total for the Cincinnati Bengals, right now it is at 8.5 for their over-under. So really, you're projecting out the Cincinnati Bengals, just say to win 9 games this season. So what? They have to go through and they have to be 6-3 the rest of the way, unless my math is incorrect, maybe 6-4. Regardless, Vegas is projecting them as a winning football team. Looks like this offense is back. Looks like Joe Burrow is much closer to being healthy. So Burrow is also someone moving up our rankings. We will rank Joe Burrow as a quarterback 1 this week, and I did not rank him as that QB1 a week ago. Now, 2 players that we were ready to put on our sell high list for week 6 may or may not still be there with DJ Moore and Justin Fields. We talked about it going into last week's game, saying, okay, yes, prepare for a massive game against the Washington Commanders. But then beyond that, let's be realistic. They will have gone up against the Denver Broncos, then the Washington Commanders. They'll have back-to-back games against bottom 5 defenses in the NFL, and it may open up a sell-high moment on both DJ Moore and Justin Fields. Now, with that being said, I'm changing my mind, okay? With DJ Moore in particular, DJ Moore goes out there. He has 10 targets, 8 receptions, 3 receiving touchdowns, and 230 receiving yards. My previous plan before this game was, okay, let's let him dominate this game. Let's send him for Chris Olave. Let's go send him for Devonta Smith. Let's go send him for Jalen Waddle. Whereas now, seeing this kind of performance where he has 230 receiving yards and an offense that only has 282 passing yards, it kind of makes us say, okay, well, never mind. DJ Moore is that elite level alpha. DJ Moore is someone that we can comfortably rely upon at this point, and he looks like he is going to be a low-end wide receiver 1, very, very high-end wide receiver 2 at the minimum. Justin Fields, on the other hand, is a quarterback that I would say I'm still interested in going through and selling high. You've seen two quarterbacks with Justin Fields this season. You've seen Justin Fields going up against good defenses, and then you've seen Justin Fields going up against bottom 5 defenses. In the bottom 5 defenses, Justin Fields has 8 passing touchdowns in 2 games. Justin Fields is averaging about 300 passing yards per game, which he had never crossed 300 passing yards in any game of his NFL career besides the past 2 weeks. And going forward, we just have to ask ourselves, okay, does it make sense to go through and look to maybe get off a volatile quarterback that has massive fanboys? You know, everybody loves Justin Fields, or the people who love Justin Fields, they love Justin Fields. And if we can take Justin Fields in maybe a depth wide receiver, if we can go send Justin Fields and Hollywood Brown to go get to a top 3 quarterback that's going to be dominant regardless of the matchup, such as Josh Allen, such as Jalen Hurts, such as Patrick Mahomes, I stand by that. And honestly, I think we would look to make that play. Now, going over to Jordan Addison, obviously a lot hinges on the Justin Jefferson injury. At the time of this recording, the most updated report that we have with Justin Jefferson is Kevin O'Connell is saying that Justin Jefferson is still going through tests on the hamstring. Said Jefferson is quote unquote down today given his competitiveness, and that the team will have to make sure it protects him from himself. From what I've seen from some Twitter doctors, it sounds like that you may have Justin Jefferson missing a week or 2. I don't think this is going to be some long-term thing where he's out a month or 2. But this does open up the window for Jordan Addison, who this past week did run 41 routes. Of course, this was a week where Justin Jefferson left after only running 32. But nonetheless, Addison goes out. He has 9 targets, which is a career high. He has 6 receptions, which ties his career high. He has 64 receiving yards. He has the receiving touchdown as well. So far, he has 3 receiving touchdowns on 29 targets. Now, I do expect this overall touchdown rate to fall with Jordan Addison, even with no Justin Jefferson. But at the same time, you may see the targets actually go up for Jordan Addison, as if you look at this offense in Minnesota, they could go out there and they could lead the NFL in pass attempts this season. You have Kirk Cousins with 44 pass attempts week 1, 44 pass attempts week 2, 50 pass attempts week 3, 47 pass attempts week 5. The only game where Kirk Cousins didn't go out there and push 40, 50 pass attempts was the week 4 win over Carolina, where they simply just did not have to throw the ball. They could just look to run it over and over again. Addison's definitely more talented than what you have with, say, KJ Osborne. And Jordan Addison, in games where Justin Jefferson misses, will be a high-end wide receiver 2 for me. And this does give them that opportunity to break out. Now, staying in this game, obviously, you had Patrick Mahomes going out there and dominating. Mahomes isn't really rising up our rankings. Will be exciting to see Mahomes on Thursday night. And what's actually really cool is on Thursday night on Underdog Fantasy, they have a more than less than half a total yard prop for Patrick Mahomes going up against the Denver Broncos. If you want to check out that special pick'em on Underdog or any of these pick'ems, you can find that link in the description or the comment section. Promo code FLOCK, you're going to get a 100% deposit match up to $100. Our rest of season fantasy football rankings and tiers, that Patrick Mahomes special pick'em. And on top of that, we got you hooked up if you use promo code FLOCK with a Justin Herbert special pick'em on Monday night, more than less than half a total yard. So you're going to get 2 special pick'ems in the same week, which legitimately never happens. And it's my birthday today. That would be the best birthday present you could give me. Sign it up for Underdog with promo code FLOCK, making a $10 deposit. Now, going over to David Montgomery. I mean, with Montgomery here, it's hard for him to rise much higher than he already is. David Montgomery has averaged 22 carries per game this season. David Montgomery is averaging a touchdown and a half per contest. And I wanted to come out here and say, okay, in a full PPR format, if you're thinking long-term, maybe we pivot off of David Montgomery. If you can sell him as an RB1, probably makes sense, given the fact that you could see, say, Jahmyr Gibbs expand his role later on in the season. Well, ladies and gentlemen, I have kind of come around to the Detroit Lions being a phenomenal football team. It looks like the Lions are one of the best teams in the NFL, which I was hesitant to believe in. I did not drink the Lions Kool-Aid this offseason. Said this is the Detroit Lions. We'll see it, then we'll believe it. Well, they're sitting 4-1, and if you look at their schedule going forward, how many of these games can we chalk up as losses? They have the Bucs, the Lions will be favored. They have the Ravens, the Lions may be favored. They have the Raiders, the Lions will be favored. You have the Chargers, looks like a toss-up. You have the Bears. The Lions will be favored. The Lions will be favored over the Packers. The Lions will be favored over the Saints. The Lions will be favored over the Bears. The Lions will be favored over the Broncos. The Lions are going to be favored over the Vikings twice at the end of the season. And with the Dallas Cowboys, it'll be up in the air. But nonetheless, you look through this schedule, you go, okay, well, the game environment's going to favor David Montgomery. They're going to be winning the majority of these games. They're going to be looking to run the ball in the second half. So based off the continued usage that we get with Montgomery, based off the Lions just kind of cementing themselves as one of the best teams in the NFL, I mean, I have to go out there and say that David Montgomery is probably locked in as a low-end RB1 rest of season, high-end RB2 in a full PPR format, and then probably like a top 6 running back in a non-PPR league. Top 6, maybe aggressive. Right on that borderline, though. Now, going over to Miami with Devon Achane, so a running back that is breaking NFL records. Now, we went over to the RotoViz screener, and we saw that since the year 2000, running backs to have over 120 rushing attempts. We saw that running backs with over 120 rushing attempts in the season, the top guys from a yards per carry perspective, Jamal Charles, 6.4 in 2010. Adrian Peterson, 2012. CJ Spiller, 2012. J.K. Dobbins, 2020. Jamal Charles, 2009. Maurice Jones-Drew, 2006. Chris Johnson, 2009. Adrian Peterson, 2007. And Nick Chubb in 2020. The highest we saw was 6.4, and then outside of that was really around the 5.9, 6.0 range. Devon Achane right now is sitting at 12.1 yards per carry with 38 rushing attempts. There's a good shot that Devon Achane is at the very top of this list by the time we get to the end of the season. And to see exactly how incredible this run has been, Devon Achane could have 0 yards for his next 25 attempts and still be leading the NFL in yards per carry. He could have 25 carries this next week with a total of 0 rushing yards and be at the very top of the NFL in yards. It doesn't sound true. I mean, please run the math yourself. I promise you that it is. Raheem Mostert still has a pretty large role in this backfield. I think that the efficiency is going to come down for Devon Achane, but his role in this offense is probably going to expand just because you want to get your best skill positional players the ball as much as you possibly can. The one thing that could maybe ruin this and keep him from being a running back one rest of season would be Jeff Wilson Jr. coming in and Jeff Wilson Jr. turning this into a 3-man running back by committee. But nonetheless, I mean, whether you want to say it's the situation, whether you want to say it's the player, it's hard to deny what's happening. Now, I want to give a shout out to one of our most drafted players this year. In reality, nothing changes. Thank you, Dallas Goedert, for doing something. I mean, I can't tell you how many teams I've had that the tight end position has just been getting crushed over and over and over again with Dallas Goedert giving us nothing. He gives us 9 targets. He gives us a receiving touchdown and 117 receiving yards. I'm just happy. I just wanted to bring it up. Doesn't change much. Let's talk about Breece Hall here. With Breece Hall, we had the report coming into the week saying that he was no longer going to be on a snap count. And with Breece, you'd assume, oh, okay, does that mean he goes out there and sees every single snap? Is he all of a sudden, I mean, the locked and loaded RB1 in New York? He's the RB1, but it's not like he's the only guy involved. It's still kind of a 3-man split backfield where you do have Michael Carter with 20 snaps. You do have Dalvin Cook with 11. But what's very interesting is those snaps for Michael Carter really come on only 3rd down and in the 2-minute drill. Outside of that, Breece Hall gets everything, and Michael Carter really doesn't have any involvement either. I mean, it's crazy to see that Breece Hall plays 34 total snaps, and with those 34 total snaps, he goes out there and he sees 22 carries and 3 receptions. He had 25 touches on 34 snaps. Every time they put him out there, they just said, hey, we're giving the ball to Breece Hall, try to stop him. And you clearly couldn't. Now, I don't know how much of this has to do with the overall function of this offense for the Jets. Obviously, you had a big Russell Wilson turnover at the end that, I mean, kind of expands the score a little bit more than it actually was. But nonetheless, the Jets do drop a season high 31 points with Zach Wilson. Before this, you had 20. Before that, you had 15. Before that, you had 10. And then you had 22 against the Bills, but that's also with the punt return touchdown. Really, you only had like 16. So if we're looking at this across the board, the Jets offense will still be bad going forward. The Denver Broncos have allowed 2 rushing touchdowns to Brian Robinson, 5 touchdowns to Achane and Mostert, 103 yards to Khalil Herbert, and now they give up this game to Breece Hall. Do I want to rank Breece Hall as a top 5 running back going forward in fantasy? Hell to the no. He is still in a very bad offense. I still stand by the fact that we were screaming to sell him for Travis Etienne once you had Aaron Rodgers go down. I would still very much rather have someone like Travis Etienne in an offense that has significantly more hope than what you have with the New York Jets. But still, someone that's a must-start running back, probably a low-end RB1, high-end RB2 rest of season in our rankings. Obviously would be much higher if it wasn't for the fact that this is still, in my mind, a very bad New York Jets offense that got to go up against the worst defense in the NFL. Now, going over to our last player, I don't know what to believe, but Brock Purdy looks like one of the best quarterbacks in the NFL. Whether you want to say Mason, he has Deebo Samuel, he has George Kittle, he has the offensive line, he has the coaching staff. He has the best situation you could ever imagine, which is why I was excited about Trey Lance coming into San Fran. But of course, we saw how that plays out. Whether you want to blame it on the situation or you want to say it's Brock Purdy being responsible for everything, it doesn't matter. It's obviously a gray area. The fact of the matter is, Brock Purdy has 98 completions off of 136 pass attempts. Brock Purdy has 9 passing touchdowns with a whopping 0 interceptions. Brock Purdy has had over 200 passing yards every single game. And what's very impressive is Brock Purdy has 2 rushing touchdowns as well. So if we're mapping this out, I don't necessarily know if we can come out and say, okay, well, for sure, Brock Purdy is a stud in fantasy going forward. Because the issue is this 49ers team is just so good. Brock Purdy's probably never going to have to throw the ball in the second half. You may get some more Sam Darnold fourth quarters out here. But when you're leading the NFL in adjusted yards per pass attempt, it's hard for us not to rank you as a borderline top 10 quarterback, especially if every once in a while you will have a rushing touchdown. So very interesting spot. And I just had to talk about how good Brock Purdy has been. Even if it is the system, the player, it doesn't matter. He's been phenomenal. And I think that's all we have for this video. And again, if you have not done so already, go down there, drop a like, subscribe to the channel if you play fantasy football. And of course, if you want to check out any of those pick'ems over on Underdog Fantasy, promo code FLOCK is going to get you a 100% deposit match, our rest of season fantasy football rankings and tiers, a Patrick Mahomes special pick'em on Thursday if you're new to Underdog Fantasy. And it doesn't matter if you signed up to Underdog 2 years ago, last year, today, yesterday, tomorrow, as long as you use promo code FLOCK, you're also going to get a Justin Herbert special pick'em for Monday night, more than less than half a total yard. 2 special pick'ems the same week, never happens. Make sure you take advantage. And my birthday is today, so it would be the best birthday present you could give me. But thank you again. I really do appreciate you, ladies and gentlemen. Really hope you have a great day, and really hope we get to see you out in the live stream later tonight.